Hi guys. Well, it's been since June 11th that I arrived in Mexico. I've been 5 years in prison before that, and June 11th, 2024 is when I came back to prison. I was released on May 24th, on 2004 to 2024, and I arrived in Mexico that day, and it's been quite a journey. And one thing that I can tell you is how I find Jesus on all through this journey. So this is my testimony. So let's go to the beginning. Um, I was I was being incarcerated on um, April 2019, and I was being judged. I was taking my process over there on Rio Grande Detention Center on Laredo, Texas. And even though I knew what I was doing, which was crossing drugs, I knew that was bad and I knew a sentence was coming. But as many we are and as many we know, we don't want the sentence that we deserve. And as a coward, I started praying to Jesus because, that's the last thing that you had to do when everything is crumbling and falling apart. They told me that I was going to be doing 10 to life and really crumbling apart and really crumbled me. And I remember that I was getting back to doing the rosary because I am a Catholic, and I couldn't find relief doing that every day, every hour, one after the other. So suddenly I saw these guys who were praying in a corner with the Bible, which I never read. I did all my, things that my mom told me to do. I read whatever they gave me to read, but never the Bible. I hear the sermon on the every Sunday mass, but that was it. This automatic system that they teach me, and go confess yourself and you're ready to go. But don't do it again, and then you do it again, and then you go confess yourself again, and never ending cycle. So I remember that I saw these guys praying, and I liked what they were doing. They were saying these phrases about the things that they need in a personal way, and I love that. And when they do that, they will go and find a passage on the Bible that describes what they're going through in that very moment, maybe what their family is going through in that very moment. And I was like, well, wait a minute. So everything is going on right now, even to me. Somebody else is through the time and story already went through this, but Jesus helped them. God helped them. So maybe I have something that I can find here that might help me. I threw away in the window through the window everything about logic and make sense that was for me as a uh, smart person that wouldn't believe that things like that will happen, that everything is just square, and there's one color is black or it's white, and that's it. So I keep coming to these reunions, and I start feeling all this comfort. And then I got sentenced. They gave me 5 years, and even though I was sad for it, it helped me a lot to have this getting close to God. I cannot say that I was already delivered to God in that very moment. I remember I was trying fasting and things like that, but everything was from the perspective that if I do this, they won't give me that much time, or they will maybe set me free, which is never going to happen. But I was, very, very, very pressing on that. I really didn't want to do so much time in there. I was afraid to lose everything, which I did. But the thing is that getting close to God in that way, reading the Bible a little bit, I didn't really read the Bible all the way at that time. I read a couple verses, I read a couple chapters. But then when I got sentenced, it really helped me to understand what I haven't done, and that I need a sentence for what I did. Because through the Bible I saw this many people doing things, and they get the sentence, but God was with them. So I felt like that, like God was with me from the thing that I was accepting that I did wrong. So I move on from another facility. Every now and then things start crumbling and falling apart. My wife left me. Um, the distance between me and my daughter was getting bigger every day, and until this day is still hurting me. But the thing that I got to say is that when I get to the other facility, which I was doing my time, I got together with this guy who was a Canadian guy, and let's gonna call it a Canadian because he didn't want me to tell his name in my story. So the Canadian guy um, was very close to God too, and he was Christian from Calvary Chapel. And he was telling me all the stories about Calvary Chapel, and I love that, and I love to hear all the stories. And we start reading the Bible. He gave me a Bible that was English and Spanish at the same time, and sometimes I will help translating things for another guys in the unit. And I always try to do things according to God. I got to keep working in the kitchen, and I never stole a thing. I took things, but I always asked for them, because I don't know. I started changing the way I was. I didn't realize. I started this change in me, and I was understanding more about Christ. But one day, the guys in my unit want to beat up this guy because they believe he was a pedophile, which he wasn't. He looked like one, maybe, whichever that look it is, which I don't know because I don't know that specific thing of the culture in American culture. But he was so nice with me, and he was always so humble, and he was always so giving. But people in the unit, mainly Mexicans, start like bullying him, and I stand up for him, and 40 other guys stand up and want to beat me up because I was standing up for this guy. But in my heart, I believe that if the Lord gave away his life for all of us, I could throw away my life for this injustice that was happening in that very moment. I knew, which I was running with a gang named the Pisces, and I stand up against them, I will mess up my times in prison all the way to the end because I was fighting my own people. Or maybe they might be fighting me. I don't think I will be, being the John Wick over there. But it was amazing. And I stand up with these guys, and there was these big guys right in front of me, ready to beat me up. And I was like, do what you gotta do. I'm not moving. I'm standing up for this guy. He was an old man. He was a 63-year-old guy. And you guys are not gonna touch him because he's my friend. And in my heart, I was doing what Jesus did. And that's what I part from there. So the police came in right on time, and they let me go. The guys told me, okay, you go right now. You go and get to the cop and tell them you're not allowed to be here. My friend was taken away. I was taken away. But I kid you not, it was this close of getting my ass handled. And I didn't care. I was not going to throw any punch. I was ready to take everything. I was just putting the other cheek. And it was really frightening, but I did it. And soon after, I went to the shoe. They tried to, you get to talk to the lieutenant and the captains to the situation. I didn't say anything because then you're going to be considered a rat. And that will be worse. On top of that, me already turned against my people. So, which happened, they sent me to the shoe because I didn't talk to the captain and say what happened. The part of the deal was that they had a cell phone in the unit, and they believed that the Canadian was going to run on them because they're not letting the Canadian to see the TV, which was really unfair. Everybody get to see whatever they want, but this one guy couldn't see the news at 4 a.m. That was messed up. So that was the beginning of the fight. And later on, when I was in the shoe, I found this pamphlet about John. Like I say, I read a couple verses of the Bible, but I never read the whole chapter itself. So I went right through John, and I remember this feeling on me that I was reading chapter after chapter, and everything was making sense, and I could see the love of God. And in some point, I kid you not, I felt that there was someone with me in that shoe cell. If you don't know what the shoe is, it's an isolation unit with for only one people, and it's really sad and it's really cold, and they give you the less amount of food that they can give you, and make your time hell. Other people are yelling and shouting, and it's super messed up to be there, and it messes up with your mind. I spent 21 days, even though I know people have spent like more than a year over there by themselves, mainly because indiscipline issues or like really violent people, they get to used to live over there. But that's how you make serial killers. It was very awful. But every day the word of God was with me, and every day that I read another verse, every day that I read another thing, it kept me showing this overwhelming love of God turning himself into a man and getting down to earth. So when I was reading the last verse, one of the last verses of the chapter, it was really amazing. It was really amazing how the Gospel of John tells at the end when so first of all, I felt this forgiveness of my life, me being super like, you know, rebellious against God and not with him any time of my life, and always denying that he had the control over my life, and that I could do whatever I want with my free will and toss it apart, and being being so bad, guys. It was bad. I wasn't a bad guy, like, killing puppies and sacrificing babies, but I wasn't afraid of God. I didn't have respect for God. He was someone over there doing his thing, and I was doing my own, and I could be better than him. That was my belief. Every time that I go around, and every time that I go on a trip, and every time that I wanted to do something, my mom would say, God wills. I said, well, it's my will, not God's. And, I find out later that was like very bad. So when I read one of the last verses, which is when Jesus reinstates Peter, it really crumbling apart me. It's really, really crumbling apart. I remember that when it was reading the part that say when they would finish eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than this? And he said, yes, Lord. He said, you know that I love you. And he asked for that another 2 times. And that's because he denied Jesus 3 times. So he was again asking them for the 3 times that he denied him. And he was saying, yes, I love you. And it was a way to forgive him for every time he denied it. It was amazing. I felt that God that day was forgiving me for every time that I spoke against him, every time that I doubted him, every time that I diminished him. And after that very moment, I knew what I gotta do. I knew that I gotta finish reading the Bible. I knew I gotta eat this Bible completely. And that's what I did. I started reading and reading and reading, and by the time I came out of the shoe, which was 21 days, I already almost finished it. I remember that I was, after a couple, 4 verses to finish the Bible in less than 21 days. And it was amazing. I remember that reading before, it was like start, getting sleepy and just like that. Every day I was eager to read the Bible. When I finished reading John, I felt a presence in the room. I felt this warm feeling of somebody was with me that day. And I was crying and sobbing, and I was just giving him all the glory and asking for forgiveness for all the things that I'd done in my life. Everything since the moment that I got a memory in my mind. Because that's what I felt was the right time. And that's when I felt that I really commit to being a Christian. And after that, I came out of the cell, and they asked me if I could be joined with the general population, which I say it was okay. I wasn't afraid of what's going to happen, because I felt that Jesus was with me, and he wouldn't let me have any harm to myself. Even though I knew that I had to face some consequences for what I did, I went to the unit, and I kid you not, Gordon, the Canadian guy, was sitting on the table playing cards. And So with all the Mexicans, and they saw me say, "Hey, this was a different unit, by the way." And by mere coincidence, I end up in the same unit as the Canadian guy. So when I went with him and he saw me, we hugged and like, "Oh my God, you're okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." I explained everything to the guys. The things happened. They say you were right. You were right on the stand up for me. So it turns out that the main guy that was in the prison was in the unit that then sent me, and they heard about the story because in prison there's no secrets. Everything spreads right away. So when he got the word about what happened, he punished the other guys because they were in the wrong by taking advantage of a 63-year-old guy. Because the gang that I ran with was the Pisces, and the Pisces were against that. We're against bullying and other people, and that's what they were doing. So I was saved, of any harm to myself. They reinstated me in my job. They gave me a better position in my job. I was getting more money. I was saving money. I was buying food. It was amazing. It was amazing, and all because I decided to follow Jesus. And even though in my little cell, even though in that little detention center I was, it was a world for me after that. My days stopped being heavy. I started living my life in prison and realized that this was my life, and I wanted a better life. I wanted to do every day like God would want me to do things. Even though I stumble once in a while, that's why I started, and things start changing right away. They sent me to a USP, which is a States Penitentiary, which is a very, very bad place. It was Kansas Leavenworth, and was one of the 5 worst months in my life. Even though I was never hurt, even though I was allowed to walk in the general population, because thank God I didn't have anything weird on my case. I didn't rat on nobody. I didn't have any sex offender charge on me, and I wasn't gay. So that's mainly the things that you need to be clear to be walking in that thing. And if you have any of those issues, they will almost kill you. Or maybe they will. If you have one of those charges or one of those things in your case, don't go to that place. Anyway, things got weird over there. I speak English, at least I say I can. And the Mexicans, they come with me, they have things in their cases. Some of them were sex offenders, some of them were rats. So the way to deflect things and not being looked into their things was saying that I was gay. And they say that I was gay because I spoke English, which was a very weird, stupid thing to say. So sadly, it was very hard for me to try to convince people. Then I got tired of it, and I was like, you know what? I am not what you think I am. And if you find me doing something like that, maybe you will believe. But I haven't done anything to prove that. So don't base whatever you heard, whatever you hear to believe that I'm that. And sadly, a lot of them were punished. A lot of them were beat him up very badly. And I started doing tattoos over there because I was afraid of things the way they were, and I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do that. I was tattooing people left and right for free, so they will keep me out of trouble. Because the way it worked there, if there's any issues, you gotta go on top, which means you gotta be the one guy on the front throwing punches. So when they discovered that I was doing tattoos, which I learned in the prison before things and everything, um, I started doing it because I was afraid, and they were keeping me safe of harm because no, we don't want to lose the tattoo artist, and I didn't want to do it. I knew that I was not happy with it, and I felt that God didn't want me to do that kind of things, drawing things that are not according to the way God thinks. It was very hard for me, even though there's people that would say like, no, no, it's not bad, it's a job or whatever. I didn't feel right. So one day I was praying that God will do something about it that will help me to avoid this conflict with me doing tattoos. So I went to sleep because we have a lot of lockdowns, and a lockdown is when you spend time on yourself, all by yourself, You're not allowed to go out because somebody was fighting, somebody was doing a stupid thing, and they locked down the whole facility. So everybody's on the cells. So I was on the cell, and then I fell asleep thinking about, praying to God that I didn't want to do tattoos anymore. And then all of a sudden, this figure came to my dream and say, like, it was like an angelical figure. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like wearing a tunic and this beautiful hair, and I could see this light coming around him, and the setting of the place was like something like columns and Greek looking thing. I cannot describe very well, but this guy looked at me in the eye and say like, Luis, if you don't want to do that anymore, it's on you. You stop doing it. God will help you with it, but you have to make the decision your own. You have to stop by your own. And I woke up right away, and I was so afraid of what I saw, because it was like right answer right there, so quickly, and I stopped immediately. Next day, a shakedown came in because of the fight that happened, and they went room by room checking up everything, and they found my tattoo gun, they found the needles, they found the ink, and they called me like, hey, you live here? Yes, I live there, sir. And I was like, you're the tattoo artist? And I was like, yes, sir, I am. Are you good? So I consider myself pretty good. Okay, I don't want ugly drawings on the skin of these guys, so you better do things right. But I'm gonna take everything right now, so you get your own again, okay? And I was like, what? So they let me go, they took away everything. So that was a free get out of trouble over there, because when the guy came in like, hey, what's up, man? They took you away, what happened? Like, no, they took all the stuff, but they said I'm free to go. But he didn't say I didn't want me to do the tattoos anymore. Oh, that's perfect, let me get you another gun. And I was like, nah, man, I don't want to do that anymore. If I get with that thing again, if they give me more time because of it, I don't want to lose time, bro. That's it. I'm finishing with this. So I did, and there was no repercussion, no trouble at all. All of a sudden, another fight broke up, and I got sent to the shoe again. I was shaving my head every day, like most of the people, because you spend so much time locked down that it is useless to try to maintain a haircut. So I went to the shoe again one more time because of an investigation, because the guy that was fighting the other guy looked exactly like me. So when I got out, they changes from prison. But when I was in the shoe at that very moment, I remember that I helped this guy who was a drug addict, and he was having these, seizures because he was not receiving drugs anymore. So I would have to stay awake in the night and help him to breathe every night. And I felt that I was sent over there by that time because I could save this guy from, you know, drowning himself with his own vomit. It was really bad. If I hadn't happened to be there, I don't know what could happen if he was alone by himself. Anyway, and I got moved from prison that very same day when I got released. And I lost all my property that I got from doing the tattoos, all the MP3 that I had, all the good stuff. I remember I gathered myself a bunch of good stuff from doing the tattoos. They weren't paying me money, but they're giving me stuff that I needed for doing my time better, right? So I lost everything. And all that came up with doing the tattoos. And I feel like, man, I was doing the same shit. Sorry. I was doing the same mistake. I was crossing drug on the streets from Mexico to United States to get things illegally, and I was doing the same thing, and I didn't realize, and I was already delivering myself to God. So you can stumble, you can, but you gotta realize when you're doing that kind of mistake, like I did. So I went to another facility, which was a very nice place. I couldn't believe it. It was a jail in Fort. The name of the jail is Fort Dix. It's a military camp that turned into a prison. It was almost like this. It was beautiful. They had trees and cats like pets around, and there were like groundhogs where you can almost pet and give them food. It didn't feel that you were in prison. I joined a band and I was playing rock songs every now and then, And I joined the church, obviously. And even though I have my, disagreements with things, but I deliver myself. I was doing the translation for the whole compound the last 2 years that I lived over there. And the last night that I was going back to Mexico and I was doing the translation, a guy came to me and said, "Oh, by the way, you are the guy that's doing the translation?" This guy was working in the lieutenant office. And I was like, "Yes, I was leaving that very day." "Yes, I am." "How you know?" "Oh, because of your voice. I always hear you on the radio." I didn't know that they were streaming the service all around the church, and even people almost nearly outside the prison could hear it. So almost 2,000 guys were hearing the word every Sunday, and I didn't realize. I was thinking that I was just giving the word for these 150 guys that gather in the church every day. I mean, every Sunday. So I didn't know that I was speaking for more people. And he was like, "I'm very happy that you were here translating this. I hope somebody else has taken your place because I've been here for 10 years. And these last 2 years were the greatest because I could hear the word of God." And I was amazed. And I came out of Mexico, and that's how I met Jesus. That's how I decided that I gotta walk that path. Even though I stumble every day, even though I had a lot of change to do in my life, I'm grateful that I know the truth, that I know what I'm made of, and why I am made for to, worship my Lord and treat everybody else's like Jesus treat us. And I welcome you to get close to God, and I hope my testimony help you to whatever you're going through. I lost everything. I lost my wife. I lost my kid. I lost my house, my car, everything. You gotta give away everything sometimes so you can get close to the things you need. Nowadays, the, God is taking care of me. I'm in these beautiful places in the woods and everything with the help of Him because He's the one that provides for me. And what can I say? Just deliver yourself to God. If you have something that is latching on you and not letting you go, you gotta cut that. You gotta deliver yourself. Anyway, I hope that this message get to the people that need to hear it right away. And if you're going through some time like this, so if you're going through a time like me in prison, get close to God. There's no gang over there that's gonna help you. Only God can help you. If I could go back in time, I will never join a gang. I will stay with Jesus. I will stay with the Word because I saw people doing that and their time were like super amazing. And when they came out of prison, they will join church and do better in life. I'm struggled, but I know the truth, and that's what's matter.